Well, howdy there, all my advanced squad leader friends. This is your host, ID Jester. This is part 3 of our advanced squad leader starter kit playthrough of Scenario 11. A long way to go. The last couple episodes have been a live stream, and we've had a lot of people join in, getting some comments in, and helping us along with some of the rules and everything. This is not a live stream. This is just going to be, I don't have enough time to really get everything set up for a live stream today, so I don't want to just put this on the back burner or anything. I want to continue bringing you guys some episodes, so I decided just to record them myself here and post them for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It seems like everyone is enjoying it. I'm getting lots of really good comments and suggestions and feedback. Be sure to leave your thoughts and comments. Excuse me. Uh, Afterwards, in our on our YouTube channel, I do read all my comments and I try to reply back. So if you have any questions, if I do anything wrong this episode, of course we'll try to explain what happened in the next episode. But hopefully things are going along pretty well for everyone out there. It's been a slow go. There's many reasons for that. Number one is obviously when you're dealing with many counters and different positioning and rules and everything. We're trying to make sure we get everything right. Obviously, sometimes with everything going on, we can make a slip up here or there, but hopefully not too bad. And the other thing is, we're not just moving counters around. We're trying to teach people. We're trying to use, bring in strategies and talk about things. Because I'm sure a lot of people out there are new advanced squad leader players, or maybe not that familiar with the system, or maybe they are familiar with the system, but they just don't know enough about what they should think about when they're playing and different tactics to use and stuff. And we're going to look at those during this episode. Before we do get started, though, with all this advanced squad leader playing again, I'm started to create some more tutorials for you guys out there, and I actually need some help from you guys. I need someone, if it's available, if someone can scan their section H of the rule book that's got all of the ordnance and vehicle rules associated with that. Leave me a private message here on my YouTube channel. Let me know if you can do that for me and email them to me. So that would be a great help. I'd forever be in your debt, forever and ever. Amen. So if you can help me out on that, that'd be awesome. Again, I need the vehicle and ordnance section. I want to do some training sessions on guns and vehicles, and I don't have section 8 of the rule book. So if you can scan that for me, or if you have a copy that you can send me, leave me a private message so that I can get that and create some awesome tutorial videos for people out there. So thank you if you can help. Again, just send me a private message or get a hold of me somehow, some way, and let me know if you can do that. All right, so back to our game here now. So we are, let's scroll up here a little bit. We are obviously scenario 11, a long way to go. We're in the allied turn of, we're on the allied phase of turn 2, I guess is the best way to put it there. So, after this, we'll be on to turn 3. Obviously, the Germans still have a long way to go to make it over there. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to talk about some strategies here. First thing we're going to do here is obviously the rally phase here. American player doesn't have anything to rally. All his units are either been killed and eliminated completely, but he doesn't have any broken units. He doesn't have any weapons to pick up or anything, so he will be done. As I mentioned in the first live stream, this is actually a new version of ASL for me. This is actually version, what version is this? This is 3.2.16, so I'm not as familiar with this version, although it is a great addition. with all the counters up here. I've actually had a little bit of time to actually mess around with some counters and check out some of the differences. There are some really cool features like this one right here, which will actually highlight on the map any broken units. So we can quickly and easily tell which stacks have broken units in them, so we can try to rally them in the rally phase. Obviously, we can see this hex has a leader in it. This hex has a leader. This one doesn't have a leader in it. So we know which units can rally here. So that's a great addition. And some of the other ones we can look at. This button here will actually remove all counters of a certain kind. So that might speed up play. I'm trying to keep things moving along, but again, I'm not trying to just speed through this. And I'm trying to, talk about some strategies, and we're going to talk about that specifically here in a few minutes. But I'm hoping to just, playing ASL and learning to push counters around is one thing, but actually, physically playing the game and figuring out what are good moves and what different strategies to have. Excuse me, I've got something in my throat all of a sudden. Is the other part of the game that's really, really, valuable resource for new players or players that, and even if you're an expert on, the counters and the core mechanics and stuff, just learning what to do and how to do it the best, most efficient way. Now, I'm not saying that I'm playing the best and most efficient way. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is just I'm trying to give players some strategies and give them something to think about when they're playing their game. So that's all I'm trying to do here. Excuse me again. One of the good things about is not doing a live stream is I can actually pause the game here. So I might have to pause it here in a minute and go get something to drink, but we'll see. Anyways, so the Americans here in the rally phase aren't going to do anything. They're pretty much done. So we move on to the Germans. Now the Germans, since it's not their turn, as you can see up here by the term Allied, it's not their turn, so they can't self-rally a unit. You can only do that during your turn. So the only people that can rally are those units that have safe self-rally capabilities, such as leaders and crews, or they have a leader stacked with them. So you can see this unit here up there in the underneath the DM counter is broken, but it's stacked with the leader, so it can rally. So before we actually get into that, one thing that I want to talk about quickly, because we actually haven't covered this and it's kind of been important, and I want to make sure I didn't mess up anything. The ELR. ELR, obviously, very important. When a unit fails their ELR, so in this case, if you roll higher than 2, more than your morale, you're going to ELR. Some of the important rules for that in the starter kit here, and it's a little bit different in the starter kit than it is in full ASL. Just keep that in mind. But just for the starter kit, this unit here with the underlying morale, in starter kit version, any unit with the underlying morale ignores ELR, just ignores it completely. So they're never gonna ELR, and even if they break, if they roll really, really high. Now that's again different than full ASL, but just to keep things, I guess, a little bit simpler for starter kit people, we have underscore morale. You just ignore ELR. The other thing is you only ELR when you fail a morale check if you're not broken. And I had a feeling that there was a couple half squads that were up here that when they were here and they were broken, they got shot by these American in the advanced fire phase, and they ended up breaking again, which casually reduced them, but I think they failed their ELR, and I might have accidentally um, ELR'd them. Although after trying to look at it, it looks like Vassal actually does a really good job of not allowing you to actually do that. So I'm not sure if I screwed that up or not, but I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention is broken units don't ELR, and even if they fail their ELR check by 6 points or whatever, they don't. They're not going to ELR. Just units that are unbroken will ELR. So just a side note of things that I've come across for the starter kit, and just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. So back to what we were doing. Apologize for the long delay here. I know you're wanting to see some action. That's what you're here to watch. But so we have this unit here. It's broken. He has a 6 morale, and he gets +1 to his morale for being in a woods or a building, which you can see he's inside this stone building. So he's got a morale of 7, and because he has his DM counter on him, we're going to add 4 to it. And the leader bonus is just 0. So he's got a 7 morale. He doesn't take the -1 penalty for self-rallying because he's not self-rallying. The leader's trying to rally him. So that's how that works. So it looks like it's a 7, and we're going to add 4 to our dice roll. Let's see what happens. He rolled a 9. Again, you don't fail. There's no ELR on rally checks, so he just doesn't rally in this case. So that'll be the end of it. And I'm going to actually try to use this special counter we talked about at the end. I'm just going to remove all DM counters that way, make the things a little bit smoother and quicker. Again, these units are broken over here. The German player, I screwed up on this. This is totally my fault. When we had that massive attack over here, the leader should not have been involved in that. It should have moved back to help rally these guys over there at the time. But unfortunately, I forgot that they were broken. So it's bad play, obviously. But so they can't rally because there's no leader with them, and they don't have any self-rally capabilities. If they did have a self-rally, their morale on the back would be inside a box. So, can't do that. This unit down here has a morale of 5. It is getting a +1 because it's in a building or woods hex. So he's got a morale of 6. And he gets to add his leader bonus to that. So actually, I believe the leader bonus comes off the die roll. But anyways, you can add it up. It's going to be a 5, 6, 7. So 5 morale, +1 for the building, +1 or -1 for the leader, and it's going to be a +4. So 5, 6, 7 -4. He's going to need a 2 or 3. He doesn't get it, but again, he's going to be able to remove the DM counter. So we'll remove all those counters. Let's see if it worked. It did like a charm. Okay. Beautiful. Let's make sure. Excellent. All right, so those DM counters are gone. So that's the end of the rally phase there, and we're moving on right in the prep fire phase. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, we're going to be talking on a strategy because what the German player has done is really put the pressure on the Americans to decide what he wants to do. So let's talk about it. And yes, it's going to take a few minutes to talk about it, but I think it's important because I'm sure a lot of people watched the last episode and thought, what the heck is he doing moving all these guys up here? Well, the German player, as you know, has to get his units off the board without taking too many casualties. At this point, he's only taken 3 casualty points. So he's not too worried. I'm thinking as a German player now, okay? If I was just playing the German side, I'm not really too afraid of this casualty point at this point in the game. It's pretty early. And my job is obviously get across the board, and I'm not going to be able to do that if I just sit here and exchange shots with the American. I have to be constantly moving up, get into better positions, and I have to get the American player into compromising positions. And this is a compromising position because the pressure now falls on the American player. What is he going to do with this hex, specifically this hex? He's got a leader in it, and it's got a full squad with a bazooka in it, which is a pretty good unit compared to what he's got left. So the American player has one of two choices. He can stay and fight, or he can try to leave. If he stays and fight, let's just look at what he's got. He's got a full squad, and he's got a Bazooka 43. So that's the year 1943. That's the kind of bazooka it was. There was a Bazooka 43, a Bazooka 44, and a Bazooka 45. Each of them have their own two-hit and effect charts over here. We'll look at that here in a minute. So with that said, the American player can shoot his full squad, and he can shoot his bazooka at a different target. And fortunately for him, let's get rid of this counter so it's not too distracting. So this building here is got lots of Germans inside it. One of them's still broken, and he's got a couple more squads in there with a light machine gun. If the American player decides to stick around and prep fire, he's not going to be able to move, which means during the defensive fire phase, the German player is going to be able to bring to bear a lot of firepower against him. He's got a unit with 4 there. He's got 2 full squads here, which is 4, 8, 12, and then he's got a light machine gun there, which would add it up to 15 firepower coming in on him. And he's only in a wood, so that's only a +1 die roll modifier. So if the American decides to shoot the bazooka, let's just look at his chances here of success or not success. And here's the back of that counter right over here on the right-hand side. Bazookas have their own 2-hit chart. We don't have to use any other kind of fancy built-in charts to the system. They have their own charts. And you can see in a range of 2, he needs an 8 or less to secure a hit. When you're shooting a bazooka, when you're shooting a mortar or other ordnance, the first thing you have to do is secure a hit. Then you do damage afterwards, which is different than how infantry shoots. Infantry shoots, you roll the dice and you check the chart, to determine what happens. So he has to roll an 8 or less, which sounds like pretty good. The only problem is the German player is inside this stone building. Inside this stone building is going to give him a +3 terrain effect modifier to the dice roll. So all of a sudden this 8 or less turns into a 5 or less to secure a hit. So on a 5 or less, he'll be able to do some pretty good damage to either this hex or this hex. But 5 or less on 2d6 is not a great opportunity, but he could also secure himself a critical hit if he rolls a natural snake eyes. So if he rolls a natural 2, he's going to end up getting a critical hit. If he rolls a 3, a 4, or a 5, he's going to secure a hit, just a normal hit. If he rolls a 6, 7, 8, 9, he's going to miss. And notice on the front of the counter here is an X10, which means if he rolls a 10 or higher anytime when he attacks with this weapon, the weapon is removed from play. It just ran out of ammunition or broke, or they left their supplies behind, or they drop it and ran out of there, or whatever. So 10, 11, or 12 will be a remove from play. So it really, again, it depends, what does this American player wants to do. He also has his full squad, which he could use against these 2 squads adjacent to him. Again, if he decides to stick around and stay. If he decides to leave, the question is, where is he going to go? Because there's a whole bunch of open terrain behind here, which kind of puts him in a bad spot because let's just say he decides to leave. Obviously, he doesn't want to move here because that's going to allow these guys to defensive fire adjacent and get a lot of firepower on them. So he's going to have to spend 2 movement points to go there, 3 movement points. I'm sorry, not movement points. These are movement factors. I want to try to get that right. So 2 movement factors to go there, an additional movement factor to go there, and an additional movement factor to go there. So that's 4 movement factors. If he CXs, he can only go 2 more spaces. 1, 2. And then in the advanced phase, he will be able to advance 1 more space, which will leave him out in the open. All right. So he's really not in a good position because remember, when he's doing all this, we have a medium machine gun here that will be able to mow him down in the next phase, assuming there's line of sight. They might cross that hillside, so he might not actually have a line of sight on him from this position, which might be okay for the American, but this is as far as he's going to end up going. Then it's going to be the German player's turn. The German player is going to be able to move all of his units, up into these hex here and be able to advance fire on him and possibly do some damage to him. So that's the first problem. The second problem is, well, he could just move here, wait for the German players to move in, and then use his squad firepower here, which is true. The only problem with that is if this unit ends up breaking and has to route, he is going to be in severe trouble for routing purposes because he's got nowhere really to go other than out in the open. And if you route out in the open, you're going to get interdicted. And if you're interdicted, you can take casualty reductions. All kinds of bad things can happen to you. So if he just, moves back to this spot here, and hopes that the German player moves in, which of course the German player is going to, because he's got to try to get across the map. He might be able to break another unit or two, hopefully, with his 7 firepower. He won't be able to use the bazooka anymore because the bazooka can only be fired at units inside a building. So it's basically just up to his squad at that point. And like I said, eventually what's going to end up happening is the German player is going to move up enough units here that this player won't be able to fight them all off, and he'll probably end up breaking at some point. And if that happens, he's going to be in big trouble. So, as I mentioned in the beginning of all this, the German players really put the American player into a kind of a bind here in this situation because he's got enough firepower here to cause the elimination of these units. So the American player has to decide, is there a way to keep these units around? Is it worth trying to keep these units around? And is there anything he can do to help prevent this? Well, the first thing he can try to do is he can try to mortar attack between here and here. But unfortunately, if I just remove the units, and I'm not going to draw a line of sight because you can't do that until you actually declare an attack. It looks like it clips this corner of the bush, and if you declare an attack and it ends up being the line of sight ends up being blocked, then you basically waste your attack. So it's kind of a risky move to see whether or not this mortar can actually see this unit or not, and I don't think he can because I think that woods is specifically designed to block line of sight between these two hexes. So this mortar can't really help do anything with this unit here. This unit here has obviously got line of sight. So before anything happens, I think before the American player decides what to do with this unit, he should probably shoot this hex into there, see if he can cause some kind of damage, some units being broken or whatever. And if these units break, then he might want to stick around. If these units don't break, then maybe he doesn't want to stick around. The problem with sticking around again is he might get lucky and be able to get some more units broken. But eventually these units are all going to surround him. These units are going to advance into this hex. Assuming they don't break from his attack, these units are going to be able to advance into his hex, kind of lock him down in place until more reinforcements can come, and they're just going to melee this American unit like they've done to the other American units that have been eliminated so far. Have both been eliminated not through shooting or attacks on the infantry fire table, they've been eliminated by close combat. So the American player sees what's going on, and does he want to risk doing that? So I spent a lot of time talking about strategy. So now let's get on to it and see what we can do. um, So yeah, I think the first thing the American player wants to do is prep fire this unit because obviously it doesn't want to move. We could move it, but as soon as it moves out of this hex, we got a medium machine gun up here with a squad that's just waiting for somebody to move into his line of sight. So moving this unit out of the building probably is not going to be good. So we definitely want to prep fire it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces away, so it's definitely within range. The only thing is, what kind of building is he in? He's in a wood building, so that's going to be a +2. So it's going to be a 6+2 attack. So I think we're going to go ahead and do that, and maybe we can get lucky, do something in these units, break one of them, break both of them, do something that's going to cause them, to make our decision a little easier to stay or to leave up here. So 6+2 on the attack. Hopefully we don't cower. Let's see what happens. So roll to 6. So 6+2 is an 8 on the 6 column. So 6 column, rolled an 8. That is a pin task check. So pin task check is not exactly what we need, but it could help. Let's see if the German player can avoid being pinned. They need a 7. We'll use the top unit first, a 7 or less. And he rolls a 3, so he's perfectly fine. The unit below him rolls a 7, so he is perfectly fine. So pin task check, unlike a morale check, you just need to roll equal to or less than your morale. If you're doing a morale check, it's different. If you roll equal to your morale, then you're pinned. So the pin task check. So that attack, unfortunately, did absolutely nothing. It was kind of, he didn't get very good roll, but, it was kind of a Hail Mary pass, I guess is the best way to describe it. Again, we could determine whether or not this mortar might be able to bring some heat down on these guys. Let me just look at line of sight one more time. See, I mean, it looks like it misses, but yeah, so I think it cuts over. It's good. It's very close, but I think it cuts across that. And I don't want to waste our mortar shot on these guys there. The only other unit the mortar can actually see is this unit here. So it's a good time to talk about mortars. So mortars always use area fire. So they're going to be using area fire so they can affect everyone in a hex. And the way they do this is, let's look at, where is it? All right. So from 0 to 6 hexes is a 7, 7 to 12 hexes is a 7, 13 to 18 hexes is an 8. So a little bit more accurate when they get from about 13 hexes to about 24, which is kind of their sweet spot, and then it goes back down from there. So anything less than 13 hexes is always going to be a 7 to hit. It does have a nice high rate of fire, but of course, once we secure a hit, then we're going to have to worry about the TEM, the train effect, for the actual attack on the infantry fire table. It does have some good rate of fire. So we are going to take the mortar and we are going to shoot at this unit right here. I don't think there's a question about line of sight. There is not. All right, so I'll just cancel that. There shouldn't be any question about line of sight there. The unit on the hill does not get the higher train bonus because it's getting other train effect modifiers. So for example, if the unit was, is that a hill X? Yes, it's a hill X because the center dot is still on the hill. So if the unit was here and the mortar was shooting at him, the German player could declare height advantage, and because he doesn't have any other terrain effect modifier in his space, he would get a +1 for height advantage over the level 0 unit versus the level 1 unit. So because he's in this building, he would rather get the +2 instead of the +1. All right, so with all that said, let's go ahead and do a few mortar attacks here. Hopefully, we got one shot off with this mortar so far. Let's see with this high rate of fire if we can actually do something with this. Problem with these units, these mortars, is they're pretty weak firepower wise when they actually secure a hit. So first things first, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces away. Again, we looked at that, 7 or less. So let's try to secure a hit. Now, we could get lucky and roll a natural 2, which would be a critical hit. Unfortunately, we can also roll a 12, which would malfunction the weapon, and that would really mess things up. But let's see if we can secure a hit. Oh, wow, we got a really, really good result. So we got a 1 and a 2. So the rate of fire on this machine is a 3 or less. So you always look at the colored dice. If it's a 3 or less, then the unit has secured rate of fire and gets to do another attack. So first thing first, we need to check out this attack first. So it's a 3, so it's definitely a hit. With that, we also are going to put a -1 what do they call that? Can't even think of the word of it. The what the hell is it called? Yeah, that thing. The targeting. Yeah, it's not what they call it. I can't remember the actual term, but it's a 5/8 counter. Let's see if I look under infantry fire acquisition marker. Thank you. Couldn't think of the term. It's an acquisition marker, and they come in a variety of different sizes. There's a 1/2 inch one, and there's the 5/8 inch one. Area of fire always uses the 5/8 inch one because you are basically targeting the whole hex with your attack, and it doesn't move. So when these units move out of that hex, the counter will stay right there, but obviously it'll be a -1 to his attacks, which would be very, very good next time he goes to attack. All right, so now that he's secured a hit, let's go ahead and look at the chart here. So if we look at the firepower of the actual unit here, it's a 60 millimeter round that it's shooting. And the 60 millimeter round, if you look at the infantry fire table, it has the firepower, and this is for your squads. And the next thing is the millimeters. So we look at the 60 millimeter table, which looks pretty good. The problem is because it's area of fire, you take half of whatever your firepower ends up being. So a 60 millimeter attack turns into a 8 firepower. You take half of that. Half of 8 is 4. So we're going to be on the 4 column here. And not only that, but we have to add the terrain effect modifier for the hex. Remember, that is a wood building, so it's going to be a +2. So we're going to be rolling on the 4 column, and we're going to add 2 to our results. So once we do this a couple times, and I've explained it a couple times, you'll get the hang of it. It'll be really easy, and you'll be able to do it yourself. So let's see what happens. He secured a hit. Let's see what he can do with it. He almost rolled a critical hit. Now, let's just say we roll a critical hit. Critical hits are completely different. Let's talk about them because it's something that people should know. On a critical hit, 2 very important things happen. If you would have rolled a 1 and a 1, natural 2. So you can't get you can't roll like a 3 and have a -1 to your attack and end up with a 2. It has to be a natural snake eyes. So a natural 2 would be a critical hit. What you do is you take your normal firepower, again 60 millimeters, so it's going to be 8 firepower, and you're going to double it. So instead of 8, it's going to go to the 16 column. All right, so that's the first thing that happens. And you can see how much more powerful that is. Instead of on the 4 column, we're going to be on the 16 column. That's going to cause some serious damage. The other very, very important thing that happens when you shoot a mortar and get a critical hit is it takes the terrain effect modifier and it reverses it. Instead of being a +2 on the chart, it's going to then be a -2 on the chart. So a critical hit is going to go from an 8 to a 16, so we double the natural firepower of it, and then we're going to subtract 2 instead of add 2. So you can see critical hits are going to be great. So being a high rate of fire weapon, such as this, hopefully we can get lucky and get a critical hit. And you can see that just one critical hit, getting that lucky critical hit, can really turn the tide of battle. Because, just if we say we rolled a 5, which is, okay. You subtract 2 to that, we got a 1 KIA right off the bat. Boom. So even though these are not very powerful weapons, you can get a very good result from them. So so we ended up getting a secure to hit. So let's roll now on the chart here. I'm going to just minimize this stuff. Oh, I can't do that. Darn it. Can I do it this way? No. Okay. Well, I'll just kind of do it like this then. All right. So let's see what the result is on the 4 column, because we did not get a hit. We're on the 4 column, and we're going to add the terrain modifier. So roll the 5 plus 2 is a 7. So a 7 is going to be a pin task check. So we're going to do a pin task check on the units here. So where are they? They're up here. So leader here first has a 9 morale. So let's see if he makes it. He rolls a 7, so he makes it fine. So the leader made his pin task check. So we can actually give his bonus to the dice roll for the squad. Squad has a 7 morale. He's going to subtract 1 for the leader, or he's going to subtract 1 to the dice roll from the leader. So let's see if he rolls an 8. And wow, luckily for him, he gets a -1 to that dice roll, which puts it at 7. Whew, and he makes his pin task check, which is very important because we would have pinned that unit there that has the medium machine gun. That would have been a great result. So that all came from just the one. We almost, if we could have just a little bit more, maybe we could have done something. But we're going to get another chance when we start the next episode here, because this unit kept his rate of fire. Remember, we rolled a 1-2, so he kept his rate of fire. So he's going to get to immediately shoot again. And we're going to do that in the next episode. Again, apologize for the kind of long-winded way of doing this. But again, I'm not trying to fly through this at top speed and just, oh, this unit's going to attack this one. Boom, done. I'm trying to give you guys just something to think about, talking about strategies. And again, let me know in the comments section what you would have done, what your strategies are. I guess we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks so much for watching.